Good evening. I have another family devotion for us tonight. And for the next couple of nights, we're going to be talking about some attributes in God that we find a little difficult to grapple with. And tonight, I'll be talking about God's jealousy. He describes himself as a jealous God. For instance, Exodus chapter 20, verse 5, "For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God." Or Exodus 34, verse 14, "For you shall worship no other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God." It was Oprah Winfrey who said that she was at a church service many years ago in which the pastor spoke on God being a jealous God. And she was deeply disturbed by this because uh, of the notion that she had of jealousy. And she said, "This is not the God that I wish to serve." And so she then left from that and has since carved her own path in spirituality, has taken many with her in that respect. And in one sense, we can understand where she may have been coming from, because if her understanding of jealousy corresponded more to a picture of maybe a jealous man over his wife, a type of jealousy that is irrational and hot-headed, then we can understand. There are a lot of men who show such a jealousy, and their wives can't do anything. They can't go to the grocery store and speak to the clerk if he's a guy, or various other things like this without the husband becoming irate because of his insecurities. In this sense, that's exactly what jealousy is. It's rooted in insecurity. And if that's the picture that Oprah Winfrey had of God as a jealous God, then she rightly discarded it. But that, however, is not the picture of jealousy that we are to have from the Bible. In fact, there are two ways in which this is kind of experienced or fleshed out, rather. We'll talk about one tonight and the other tomorrow night. Tonight, I want to talk about jealousy for us. And this best corresponds to the type of jealousy that a good husband would rightly have for his wife. So a good husband would be jealous, you could say, would be jealous that his wife's affections, at least the types of affections that are only right for a wife to show to her husband, that those only belong to him. Now, he's not doing this out of a sense of insecurity or unreasonableness or hot-headedness. He's doing this because they have entered into a relationship with one another that alone belongs to a married couple. And if this is to be shown in other relationships, then he has been or she has been sinned against. The relationship has been sinned against. It's a violation of trust. It's a violation of purity, holiness, goodness, trust. All of these things are violated by this. And so the desire to preserve the goodness of that relationship, you could say, is a type of jealousy, a good jealousy. The same applies in God's relationship with us. God has given himself to us. He gave himself to us on the cross. He not only created us, he saved us. He sought us out. He redeemed us. He won us back over to himself. And he rightly is jealous that our affections belong to him. He describes himself as our husband. And when we go after other things to fulfill that relationship in false ways, then he is rightly offended and grieved at this, not only because of the harm that it does to the relationship, but also the harm that it does to us. And so God rightly describes himself as jealous, and we should be encouraged by this, because this then means that he is not willing to just simply dismiss our relationship with him. He treasures it. He values it. He wishes it to remain good and pure, and for it to be a display, an accurate display of his love for us and our love for him. And so, aside from being offended or bothered by the attribute of jealousy, we should in fact be encouraged by it. So, in closing this video out, how does this impact you in a positive way? To think that you are so valued by God that he does not want your heart going after other false things. He wants your heart going after Him. For it is in Him alone that your heart will be satisfied. To quote the great theologian of the Christian Church, Augustine, if we are not created for God, why is man's heart only satisfied in God? Have a good night. Blessings.